Wave at the fellow biker. Wave at the biker. Wave at the biker. Wave at the biker. Wave at the biker. And wave at the GS. What a day for a ride. Beautiful weather. So before I can talk about 6 years of ownership on this bike being the 2014 BMW R 1200 GS Geländestraße model K50, you need to understand a bit of background. I purchased this bike from a BMW dealer in Germany. I got 10% off the retail price, what it was asking for. It is the absolute bog standard model. The only accessory I got on it was heated grips. I'll talk about those later. There's a 2-year warranty at the time on BMW motorcycles. I believe it's 3-year now. So for the first 2 years of its life, it was BMW dealer serviced, and thereafter I got it privately serviced from a garage that's literally just around the corner from me. It's used every day pretty much to get me to work. It takes me on tours and on weekends out as well. Regardless of the weather, this bike is pretty much being used, so it's not pampered. It's not even kept in a garage. It lives outdoors under just a cover. Honestly, I don't think it's particularly well looked after. What we'll do now is I'll try and find somewhere to park up and I'll take you around the bike. I've made a few notes of what of my experience of owning this bike over the past 6 years. Right, we're going to see if there's any spaces in here where I can. So I can't use the parking space here. There's somebody's house. So starting with the engine then, I've noticed over the last 6 years that it's used little or no engine oil at all over a year period. No problems whatsoever with burning oil like I believe the older air-cooled ones did. I do believe though that if you do slightly overfill the oil or fill it to the max in the sight glass, which is down there, but obviously the bike's on the tilt so you can't see, then I do think, although I'm not 100% sure, that gear changes are slightly more notchy, but I can't vouch on that if that is actually the level of the oil has any kind of real impact on that. Moving on then, the clutch, no issues with that at all. The transmission itself, and when we're talking gear changes, I've noticed, generally speaking, they do tend to improve over time. So when I first had the bike, and I know a lot of GS owners have said with the liquid cool version, they have a lot of problems with gear changing, etc. I've had no real problems, but it certainly has become smoother over the years with my gear changing. Still clunks into first like a good one, but yeah, no real problems there. Okay, regarding the cooling system. Now, initially, when I got the bike, within the first, I think 3 to 4 weeks, I noted that there was a seepage. I'll see if I can get under here and show you what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see that, but that there is well, I believe it's some kind of breather, because located behind the front of the crankcase here is obviously the coolant pump. And from this small hole, there was a small amount of seepage of coolant coming out, like I say, in the first few weeks of ownership. I went on a few of the forums, and I know a lot of GS owners were actually going back to the dealer and getting the fuel pump replaced because it was obviously leaking. I believe it is the O-rings on the pump itself that weren't sealing correctly. However, I kept my eye on the coolant tank reservoir, and I didn't notice any particular difference in that. And so I just kept my eye on it, and then it really did just stop on its own. Never had any issue with it since, so I presume it was just a bedding in thing. I guess some people got lucky with it, others didn't, but I had no real issues with that. Since then, no problems at all. I've never ever topped up any of the coolant on this bike since ownership. Okay, the ECU, engine management systems, no problems with the exception of the servo here. Can you see that? I'll go a little bit closer. Which operates the exhaust flow control valve. So if you go from this servo, there's 2 cables there and there that operate this valve here, which in turn operates a little flappy thing, that's the correct name for it, inside the exhaust here, controls the flow of it. When you turn the engine on and off, I turn the engine on. This then goes for a system check, operates the valve on the inside of here. That is sticking. It has been so for the past 6 months on and off. Now, if I took that to BMW, I'm sure they'd say that I'd need a complete new exhaust system and probably a new servo, I'm not sure. Currently, I'm managing fine with just switching the engine on and off. It resets itself, and funnily enough, squirting a bit of WD-40 in there, which keeps these cables free, and I haven't really got a problem with it. At the minute, I'm going to leave that till it gets to a catastrophic failure, then either pull it out or bite the bullet and get a new exhaust. So looking at frame, suspension, final drive, no issues at all with any of those. The shaft drive on it's been flawless as far as I can see. I mean, I haven't opened it up and had a look. Okay, brakes, wheels and tyres then. So the rear brake, that's been a bit of a pain, if I'm honest. Probably some of it due to me, but not all of it. Mysteriously, it loves brake pads. I don't know why it eats through them. I don't use my rear brake except when I'm static or for low manoeuvring, etc. But it has chewed through about 4 or maybe even 5, I think 4 sets of pads since I've had it, and I don't know why. One set of pads for some reason lasted well over a year, about a year and a half. And then some pads literally last about 6-7 months. I can't work it out. If you notice here, my mechanic identified that actually the rear brake pad was sticking purely because lack of maintenance and cleaning by me throughout the winter. You can see where he's put a bit of grease on it, and actually the rear pedal, just come round to this side, was sticking on and off. You can see it moves nice and clearly now and then again there where he's cleaned it all up. The whole pivots and everything was pretty much seized, and it was breaking just on like one caliper. That obviously isn't going to help, but that was purely my fault. Last year I had to have a new rear brake disc rotor fitted on. Fronts are still original, back is new. That was at around about 40,000 kilometers, so pretty rapid. It burnt through that rear disc. Front brake, no issues whatsoever. They're the second, obviously the first set of pads that I've fitted since owning it in 6 years. I fitted them myself, no problems at all with my front brake calipers. Regarding the tyres I've had on it, at the moment I've got Metzeler TYRES fitted onto it. They're I'll try and get in the sun so you can see them, 80/20 tyre, which I find pretty much perfect now for what I do, which is the majority of it's on the road, with a bit of the amount of light off-roading. Prior to that, I had again Metzeler TYRES Next, which I'd probably say are a 90/10 tyre, quite popular. Used to be, I think, standard OEM tyre for the GS until they switched to Michelin. And then before that, I had a set of Michelin Road Pilot 3s, I think, which is a pure road tyre. Excellent, but both tyres punctured or picked up I think a nail in each one, so I had to change those. And obviously originally it came with some Michelin Anarchy 3s. Again, I think I sustained a puncture in the front of that, so I had to swap it out, and that led me to go onto the Road Pilot 3s. So regarding the electrical system, it's had one battery fitted to it in the 6 years. It has no battery management chargers or anything like that fitted onto it, like I say, because I use it pretty much every day, so I think that's pretty reasonable. One battery change, one indicator bulb blow on me, and 2 headlight bulbs in 6 years. Obviously that, I guess, is the advantage of not going LED. When it does break, it's very cheap to repair. So in summary then, no real problems with the bike all over the last 6 years, apart from the exhaust valve, which sticks now and again, which is not really a major drama, but something I'm going to have to sort out. But you know, wear and tear wise, no dramas with the exception of the rear brake pads. So all in all, a very reliable bike, considering especially the way I treat it, which is bad. Poor bike. Oh, what I did forget to tell you is actually my current mileage. Kilometers. I don't know if you can see that. I'll have to go in at a bit of a diesel. So my current kilometers are 56,202 kilometers. I'll put that up on screen what that is in miles. So I'm actually, if you think of that, I guess they plan on your average Joe biker covering 10,000 kilometres a year, hence why you have a service every 10,000 k's or 1 year, then I'm pretty much on average mileage, I guess. Some people do more, some people do less. So I'm currently on 10,000 kilometres, which is clearly 6,000 miles per year. I'm on target for that at the moment. Well, that's it. Let's go home. Just had a little break, sandwich, can of Coke. Next to the dead people. Well kept graveyard, well done.